Welcome to Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. Our show brings you closer to the heart of Texas A&M athletics through powerful stories of perseverance, purpose, and life-changing opportunities made possible by 12th Man Foundation donors. From student athletes and coaches to former students and dedicated staff, you'll hear firsthand how donor support shapes the lives of Aggie student athletes in competition and beyond. Whether you're a lifelong Aggie or simply curious about what makes Texas A&M so special, you're in the right place. Let's dive into today's episode. Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of Answering the Call podcast, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. I am your host, Ivy Robinson, and today I am sitting in studio with Texas A&M Volleyball Associate Head Coach Jen Woods. Jen, thank you so much for being here and for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Jen, to kick off this episode, can you tell us a unique fact about yourself that maybe not many people know?
Oh, goodness. Well, I guess those that maybe aren't super involved with our program, I was just sharing with you this morning, I have 3 boys that are under the age of 11, 7, and 4. And so they keep us on our toes and keep us busy for sure. But I think a lot of times people don't always realize the family and, group that's behind the coach sometimes. And they see us coaching, but they don't necessarily see all of that. So our families are a big part of what we do.
Yeah. So your kids, are they like really involved in sports? So y'all got them in sports yet?
A little bit. Our oldest is really trying to explore lots of different things, see what he's into. He loves to read and other activities and things. And then our middle likes to do all the sports.
Awesome.
Have to kind of say we can only do 1 or 2 at a time. And then our little guy is just all over the place. He's our project kid. He likes to build things and do all the things. So I'm sure he'll get into sports eventually too.
That's awesome. I think that is your point earlier, what you said, not a lot of people think about the life outside of coaching for coaches. And I think it's important to remember that y'all are human too. Y'all have lives. Sure. And do you enjoy doing anything specific outside of volleyball and coaching? Do you have any hobbies yourself?
Yeah, I would say that I'm kind of in this stage of life that I'm sure a lot of moms can relate to, where it's pretty much focusing on family, keeping the kids where they need to be, organized, all the things.
Yep.
Spending time with my husband. Anytime I get time outside of coaching, that's where I focus my time. So not a lot of time for personal hobbies. Yep. I have gotten a little bit into sourdough bread.
The sourdough
I'm into
trend,
that a little bit, and my boys seem to like that, so it's a win-win. But not a lot of time for that either. So might get a loaf a month if I'm lucky, but I keep it alive. So that's doing something, I guess.
Okay, I'm personally curious because I've thought about making my own sourdough bread as well. But what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who is trying to start that?
I would say have someone hold your hand that has done it, because that is I've pretty much just following instructions. I was given a starter by somebody, and then she gave me video tutorials of okay, do this every day. When you need to bake it, do this. And I have followed her instructions well, so I can't take too much claim of being an expert by any means. But
got it. So find someone who really knows what they're doing.
I can help you out if you want to get started.
Yeah. Well, Coach, let's go back to your story. And can you tell our listeners just about your background, your hometown, where you're from, and what maybe your childhood looked like?
Yeah. So I grew up in North Dallas area in Allen, which is next to Plano and McKinney, Frisco, kind of all that area that's booming. So grew up there, went to Allen schools my whole life. My husband actually, we went to the same middle school and high school, started dating in high school. So from that area, played kind of all the different sports growing up, got into volleyball around 5th grade, just in the local little league, and then started club kind of in 7th grade time frame. So definitely got into volleyball, loved it early. It was very clear, my favorite sport, but I did a lot of different things.
Was volleyball kind of a family sport? Did you have other family members who played, or did you just decide, volleyball seems like a cool sport, I want to try it?
Yeah, I am thankful to my parents that they put me in it. We didn't really have anyone in our family that had done volleyball before. And so my mom was a dancer and drill team type person. And so I did dance a lot growing up. But then I think my dad was like, I can tell she's kind of a little bit more into the sports side of things. And so my mom let me finish dancing after about 10 years and was like, okay, let that dream die. So I got into sports and just kind of really enjoyed my first volleyball experiences. I had some good coaches and friends that I met through playing Little League volleyball, and then kind of took off from there.
Tell me about your time playing volleyball, like in high school, and then walk us through kind of the moment you decided, you were thinking about college and trying to decide where you wanted to go, and what was that decision process like for you?
Yeah, so I went to Allen High School, and they have a very storied volleyball program, and really enjoyed my time there. It was really special. We had a lot of success. The school really backed volleyball. I would say like volleyball and football were really prominent sports there, other sports as well, but we got a lot of school support. So I was used to that kind of environment of having the school behind you. And then when I was looking at schools, my parents were both Baylor people. I grew up going to all the Baylor homecomings and all the things. And so a lot of people from my church went to Baylor. It was just kind of what you did.
Yeah,
and so I was the rebel that broke from that path. But through camps, really, I would say was what kind of diverted me away from maybe pursuing that path. And then went to A&M volleyball camps with some friends and enjoyed it, enjoyed the people I met, had some people in club that had interacted with A&M. There was a player, her name's Jana, that she went to A&M and met her in my early years. So there was just different people that kind of exposed me to A&M volleyball for the first time. And then when I went to camp, I loved it. And I really did come mainly for volleyball. And I would say that the school ended up being a perfect fit for me in so many other ways. But what drew me here was volleyball. And I'm so thankful that that was kind of how God navigated my path, because this is where I should have been for so many more reasons beyond just volleyball.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, coming from a strong Baylor family, were your parents supportive of you coming to Aggieland?
They were.
Were they shocked?
Yeah, it was a little different. My brother had kind of split off and he went to OU.
Okay.
And so he had done his own path, and then they were just whatever made sense for me. And especially with volleyball being so big in my life, they wanted to be the right fit from that perspective. And A&M was that. So.
Yeah. You joined the Aggie Volleyball program as a freshman walk-on in 2004. And through, hard work and fortitude, you were able to earn an athletic scholarship, which is just incredible. Can you share about what that, putting in that hard work and effort meant to you? And then when maybe the moment you received that scholarship, how did that feel?
Absolutely. So in volleyball, and I think there's different dynamics that are similar to this in other sports as well, but in volleyball, especially for the libero position, it was very common in my time that you would maybe be on either no scholarship, or it would be like 2 years walk-on, 2 years scholarship. So with the Corbellis, that was kind of the agreement we had coming in, was that nothing was guaranteed. It all had to be earned, but they had projected that I would walk on for 2 years and then hopefully move into scholarship for 2 years. So that was a recruited walk-on is what they called it. And it was very common at that time. And so that was my understanding whenever I committed here. And I was thankful that I was in a position, my family was very supportive of me, that I could pursue that path. I had other offers, different places that maybe had more scholarship out of the gate, but this was really the fit that felt the best. And so was able to come, and then actually ended up getting on scholarship sooner, a year earlier than I expected. And so I was very blessed in that and very thankful. And just like you said, kind of that moment of not just the hard work once I got to A&M, but all the years of my parents pouring into my path, and friends and family and loved ones, like just being so supportive over the years so that I could work my hardest and have the opportunities to pursue this path. And then, of course, the hard work here and all the coaches and everyone from the coaches on the court, my volleyball coaches, Corbellis, and at the time, Robin Romansky was here, to Ray, our strength coach. And she was a huge coaching mentor for me, and just eventually a coaching mentor, but at the time, just a really great leader for us. So there were so many people that poured into my path, and it feels really good, but definitely not something that's earned on your own.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome that you were able to come in and earn that even 1 year earlier. This is something that kind of changing topics a little bit, but I played volleyball in high school, so I have a love for the sport as well. But how have you seen, and this is kind of off sidebar over here, but how have you seen the game evolve since maybe the time you were playing to where it is today? Because I feel like the game has definitely accelerated, but what are some of the specific ways you've seen the game really revolutionize itself and change?
Oh goodness, so many ways. The game has evolved. Obviously, college athletics has evolved, but for volleyball specifically, I'd say even just the basics of how the game is played. In my high school years, the libero position, actual like libero jersey that everyone sees, the different color jersey, that wasn't a thing until in my actual like high school playing days. In club, they started playing with it, so I got to play some libero in club, but that meant you just were playing defensive specialist, which was great. But you just weren't on the court as much because you could sub in for 3 rotations and then you'd have to sub out and someone came in front row for you. But the libero kind of like changed the game of just providing more opportunity for you to be on the court more.
Right.
And so that was super exciting. And that started kind of in the club days, but didn't get to happen in high school ball for me. And then in college, that was implemented. So was able to do that. Little things that, you couldn't take a first contact with your hands. Like that was a double back in my day, which is weird. And now like for a long time, that's been very common. So that kind of changed in my college years. And then just little things like used to be when the ball hit the net, when you served, like that didn't count.
Yes.
There's a point for the other team. Rally scoring changed. Like so many things about this game has changed over the years, from traditional scoring to rally scoring to positions and how they work to the rules of the game. Like this last year, got rid of the double for the second contact, and that has changed the game a lot. So in good ways, like I think it's all evolved the sport into something that's more exciting to watch. It helps the game flow better and creates a lot of opportunity. So all rules that I think everyone's uncomfortable with change, like whenever every rule change happens, it's like everyone thinks it's going to be the end of things, and then it ends up proving to make the sport better. And so it's been cool to watch that.
Yeah. Were you always a defensive specialist or a libero like throughout your entire student athlete career, or did you ever play any other positions?
So I was an attacker for a long time. I'm small, but I could jump well, thankfully. And so I hit for a long time growing up. And then kind of in high school, I would go back and forth between attacking and playing DS, but I always attacked out of the back row, and then I had a jump serve and things like that allowed me to kind of flirt with the attacking concept a little bit more, even when I did start transitioning to being more of a libero DS. And then in college, I even got to hit back row some in my early years before liberoing when I was DSing, so that was fun. All things that seemed so long ago when I could lift off the floor still.
If you could pick one memory from your time at Texas A&M as a Aggie volleyball student athlete that's maybe your favorite or just really stands out, what would it be?
There's so many things. It's hard to pick one. I would say in general, just now kind of being back to it gives me that, I don't know, I reminisce on it a lot, but playing in G Raleigh. So it was called the Holler House, but G Raleigh was attached to Kyle Field, and it was across from the MSC. And it was such a cool volleyball venue. It was older for sure, and definitely understood why it needed to go in a lot of ways. But I do think that it created kind of a unique experience that a lot of us that played in that time frame just hold special to us of playing in G Raleigh. So I'd say that in general. And then we were in the Big 12 then. So my freshman year, we went to Nebraska. And at the time, obviously on how the game has evolved, we talked more of like the on-court things, but the game has grown so much and it has gotten so much more popular. The amount that we're on TV, all the things. Now we have pro leagues in the US, not just overseas. The game has grown so much. But at the time, not many games were on TV. But at Nebraska, the games were on TV. And so when we went to play there as freshmen, we're brand new, and there was 4 of us at the time. And none of us were starters, but a few of us played some, but definitely not like in the starting lineup. And at the time, I guess the starters were frustrating the coaches a little bit. And so they decided to do kind of like a hockey line shift and pulled a ton of the starters and threw all of us freshmen in.
Oh, wow.
And
Y'all were just
and we balled
thrown
out.
right in.
We played great. We didn't win, but we played really well. And I think it proved whatever point she was trying to prove to our upperclassmen at the same time. But it was kind of like, welcome to college volleyball on TV at Nebraska. And y'all are young and not necessarily starters yet. So it's funny looking back of like, I can only imagine how scared I was. But we got through it. And I think a lot of us really kind of enjoyed the memory for sure.
Oh, man. What a moment. I can only imagine the feeling of that. It's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
One more thing I'd like to ask about your time as a student athlete. When you were a senior, you were a team captain, and I read on 12man.com that you were the only Aggie to play in all 107 games, all while battling through a back injury. You finished your Aggie career with 659 digs in 90 matches. Those are incredible stats to be dealing with an injury like that. So tell us how you overcame that and how you got through that, and what was it from? Yeah,
so I had a tough road with back issues that it kind of came to light when I was in a car accident my freshman year. But it was something that I actually was born with a fusion in my back that I just shouldn't have been Olympic lifting, but we weren't aware of it. And so I kept getting like disc bulges and like issues that it was from loading my back, but we didn't realize that, just the issue that I had from birth. And so with that said, we were able to make some modifications. And once we discovered kind of the root issue of it, to where I was still lifting, but in different ways. And instead of running on hard surfaces, I would run on the water treadmill. I spent a lot of time on the water treadmill and on the bike, and just was able to handle those strength and conditioning needs in a different format so that my back could handle it and I wouldn't continue to get disc bulges that would make it really hard to play. And so once we were able to kind of get a management plan, but still have the needs that from a strength and conditioning to keep growing as an athlete and sustain the load, I was able to play. And I'm so thankful for that. And it was a long journey to like get to some of the solutions we needed to, but it was pretty special to end my career of just a lot of people involved to kind of allow me to play at my best, even though physically there was a lot of barriers there.
Were you able to utilize any of the resources here at Texas A&M? Like maybe it was someone who worked in sports medicine here that helped you with that, or were there any specific people or resources that helped you get through that and overcome it?
Yeah, I'll give a huge shout out to our trainer at the time. Her name is Stephanie Key. So she's hopefully out there and listens one day and hears this, but she was instrumental in me being able to get through my career and be able to thrive and not just like get through, but also be able to still perform at a high level. And so she was huge in like helping me get to the point of figuring out the root cause. But then from there, it's like, okay, a lot of people could have just said, I'm going to medically retire and be done. But she worked with me when you're injured. I think that's something a lot of people don't realize, that injured athletes end up spending a lot more time than any other athletes. Just the amount that it takes, whether you're rehabbing from a surgery or you have a condition that you just have to manage, you end up kind of doing double time.
Yeah.
And so I would be with my team when they were doing their normal workouts, like conditioning or weights and things, and I would be modified and doing what I could with them, but then I would be going and doing workouts on my own on top of that, and then getting treatment on my own and all of those things. And Steph, our athletic trainer, was phenomenal, and she was so supportive, and she was kind of like my rock that I remember at the end, my parents just thanking her and being like, hey, without you, she would not have been able to do everything she was able to do. So she was probably the biggest. There was a lot of people involved, and Ray, our strength coach, everyone worked together, our coaches too, but she would probably be the linchpin of it all.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so you get through Texas A&M, you graduate, with a communications degree, and then you went and got your master's as well at Texas A&M. Tell our listeners about kind of your career path and what you ended up doing after graduation from Texas A&M.
Yes. So I did my undergrad in communication and then had a business minor. And then my husband, he had transferred and lost some credits in the transfer process. And so we had an extra semester that we were going to be in College Station before he already had a job lined up in Houston. So we knew where we were going to be, but we were trying to figure out kind of during that semester I was done playing. I worked at Letterman's Association. So Kathy Capps was wonderful and learned a ton in my time working there. And I just was like, well, I might as well start my master's, and had taken some classes. John Thornton had introduced me to some ideas. He's wonderful, of things I could do. So I decided to do my sport management master's and really enjoyed my time there. Got to catch up with one of my professors the other day. Saw him when I was speaking at a convention, and it was great to catch up. But enjoyed that time. I really crammed in my classes. So I did like a 1.5-year program in a year. It was very crazy, but I was on scholarship and I wanted to like maximize my time, even though I was done playing, and try to be wise in that. So did my master's, and then they were trying to encourage me to go PhD path and to do a full professor path. But for me, the teaching part was what I loved more than the research. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know that I would really enjoy the PhD path because of that. And so they asked if I would be open to doing an instructional professor role. And I was thrilled about that because it's basically all teaching and very little of the other. And so did that. And I taught sport finance and sport marketing to undergrads for a year and thoroughly enjoyed it. Something I could have seen myself doing for a very long time. And then we moved to Houston for my husband's job after he graduated in December. And then I was commuting back. So I would, like the days that I taught, I would drive back to A&M, and then I would prep for my classes on the other days for teaching. And so it was fine, but then kind of got into the volleyball scene in Houston and decided that I wanted to start a club volleyball organization in Houston. And kind of a very long story of how I arrived to that. But at the end of the day, that's kind of the decision. And my husband was going to be involved in that. And we were going to do that together. But he was also going to be working his full-time job. He's an engineer. And to kind of support the effort while it built. Yeah. And so we did that. And I stopped teaching and just really focused. I was full go in building the club. And we started that in 2010. We didn't know anyone in Houston. We had grown up in Dallas. So we met some incredible people, but we were very much starting from the ground up. And so that was an incredible journey. Lots of Aggies involved in that. A lot of our initial coaches were people that played club volleyball at A&M that I had become friends with, men and women that were instrumental in building our club into what it became. And so, yeah, that was a long journey of going from nothing to becoming one of the best clubs in the country. Yep. And we have mentored other leaders to take over for us. And that journey, actually, last year, the club was ranked the #1 club in the country. And so it's been really cool to watch that journey. But also, Amy Hauser-Burke was an athlete that she played for us at our club at Houston Skyline, and then came on full-time staff with us after she finished her time playing here at A&M. And then she and her husband are the ones that we mentored to take over for us whenever we transitioned to other things. So that's been kind of a cool full circle moment as well. Yeah. But I will say that just kind of the Aggie network aspect of things, and I try to explain this to our recruits because it's very genuine and very true, but there's Aggies everywhere and they want to see you be successful. And I will say that the platform that I had of being a student athlete from Texas A&M when I moved to a new city in Houston where I didn't know anybody, we weren't established with anyone, there were so many Aggies we met that were like, hey, I don't know much about volleyball, but if there's any way I can be helpful in your journey, let me know. And then there would be people we met in the volleyball world that were Aggies and wanted to help. And sometimes that was just like mentoring and career advice. And sometimes that was, hey, if you ever want a business partner, let us know. Like all different ranges of things. But at the end of the day, Aggies want to help Aggies. And as ending up being an entrepreneur, and that's not something I necessarily set out to be, but I became, and my husband is very much an entrepreneur at heart, still is. And so for us being Aggies, moving to a new city, building something from the ground up, that was a platform that was incredibly helpful to us.
Mm-hmm. What an awesome story. I mean, that's just so rewarding to see that, to know that y'all pioneered and paved the way for that club volleyball program. And now it's gone on to be #1 ranked nationally. Yeah. And that's incredible. And I'm glad you mentioned Skyline because I know several of our current Aggie Volleyball student athletes were very athletes in that same club and are now here at Texas A&M, including is Ava and Logan and
Maddie.
am I forgetting anyone else? Maddie Walk,
and Morgan Perkins.
Yeah. Can you tell us about, them and kind of their involvement as volleyball student athletes and maybe how you've seen them grow from their time in club to where they are today?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been fun to watch them and be a part of their lives from when they were babies. Like Maddie Walk started with us when she was 9 years old. So she was very much a baby in our like little STARS program, not even club volleyball, just a developmental program, all the way to Logan, who she, was one who was a late bloomer. And she really came into the player that she is today, which is obviously incredible. She was one that didn't have that from the very beginning. She was kind of that tall, lanky kid that's still figuring out her body at age 13 to where she like really grew into her body and started really thriving, kind of hitting that 16s and beyond. She hit a stride that really put people on notice of like, hey, pay attention to this kid. And then she's continued to do this as she's gone through the program of, her high school years, now at A&M, of had a phenomenal freshman year, but I still think people didn't realize what she was going to continue to grow into. And that's just a testament to how hard she works and that she had the ability to look at the big picture with a lot of people helping her family and coaches and everyone around her of like, hey, this is a marathon, not a sprint kind of concept. And it's proven true for her that she's, really thriving and peaking now. And that's more important than at age 13. So it's been cool to watch that. And then, Morgan Perkins is one that really has had a lot of success, and it's been really cool and proud to watch her thrive. And she's very close to getting her college degree and going on to do great things. So that's been cool. And then Ava, she's been one that she was always a soccer player when she was younger.
Yeah, we actually had her on this podcast, and I remember her talking about that and how like volleyball, she started it pretty late in the game,
Yes.
I think, did she start like when she was in 8th or 9th grade?
Yeah, so she started at least being involved in our program when she was 14, and she was very much like a soccer player on a volleyball court. Like you're like, okay, she's athletic and she's gonna be good, but we gotta rein her in a little bit because she's like just really ready to bulldoze everywhere. But she very much picked things up quickly and then always had those leadership capabilities to make a difference on any floor she steps in and any gym she steps in, both vocally, but also leading by example of just working her tail off. And she's super competitive. And so that's something that she's always had. And then the volleyball side has grown with it. And now she's doing incredible things here and representing our athletic department and our school in great ways across the country, going to in DC and doing programs there to help with kind of what NIL is going to become for this sport and just a lot of cool things. So it's been neat on that front, but then also to watch all the girls that I got to know when I arrived here and getting to coach that group. And specifically, I have the privilege to work with middles. And so I've worked a lot with Afina and Molly Brown, who just finished. And just there's a lot of incredible young ladies in our program in all positions. And we don't have time to talk about each one individually, but getting to be a part of some of their lives from when they were young, but then a lot of them in these like really formative college years has been incredibly special. And then those relationships will obviously go on into their adulthood, which is cool.
Tell us about the moment when you got the offer to come join Jamie and be a leader of the Aggie Volleyball program. And I'm sure that was rewarding and an exciting offer for you, being that you were a student athlete yourself here. But tell us about what was going through your mind in that moment.
Yeah. So we had kind of transitioned from running the club, mentored Amy Nathan to take over for us. And so that had all happened prior to this. So we were shifting gears to go into League One volleyball, which I'm not sure if y'all are familiar, but it's a pro league in the United States. And it works with a combo of like a club system and professional volleyball league, kind of like European soccer models is probably the closest comparison. But we had transitioned, my husband and I, to doing that full time and kind of stepping away from running the day-to-day of the club. And so that was our focus on kind of all different aspects of that. It was very much from the very beginning stages of that growing into what League One is becoming now. And so we were focused on that. And in that process, we had known Jamie for years, but we were like, he would be such a great person to be a part of Love and helping develop this pro league. He had incredible international experience with national teams and pro teams overseas. And so it was like, we knew what an incredible person he was and coach, and like who better to be a part of that journey. And so he had come into League One volleyball, and we got to work closely with him on kind of all facets of both the pro side and the club side of things. And so we were working together there. And then whenever the opportunity, he was considering getting into college instead of staying in that realm. And so I knew A&M would be an incredible place for like what he wanted to build and what he could build. He has a lot of big vision and goals for building something. And A&M, what's cool, and he always speaks to this too, is that there's a great foundation that's been laid here. You know, obviously the Corbellis had a lot of very successful years, Elite Eight, Sweet 16s, like very successful SEC championship. So you're getting to start somewhere that's not completely from scratch as far as building what you want to build. But it's a program that needed some love to kind of get back to where it's been. And so that was something that I knew would be an incredible opportunity. So I was thrilled for him of like, okay, this is such a good fit for what the program needs right now and what I know he cares about and values and what he can accomplish. Like, this is a school that can support that and will want to support that. So it seemed like such a good marriage from that standpoint. And then when he was like, hey, I really want you to come with me, that was kind of a big shift in what we were expecting. We had been in Houston for a long time. We were very rooted there. We had just built what we thought was going to be our forever home. In 2020. And so very established there.
Yeah.
Didn't have any plans to change that. So it took me a little bit to decide, not because it wasn't an incredible opportunity, but just it's kind of uprooting your life from, you know, how you had things set up. And so that's where, you know, sometimes you just, you know, God gives you turns that you're not expecting. And this is definitely one of those. My husband was still working for League One volleyball at the time. And so he was traveling a lot, but could work remote. So he had that flexibility, which was nice. So we were kind of in a position for the first time where when you run your own business in a specific city, like you're kind of rooted and can't really do much change. So we were, for the first time in our marriage and in our, you know, adult lives, we were kind of in a position where we could pick up and go if we wanted to, which was a blessing. And so then we ended up deciding like, okay, I think this makes sense. College Station is an incredible place. We knew it would be a phenomenal place to raise our boys. And so that's obviously at the forefront of our minds in addition to our career goals. And then just from a volleyball standpoint, we knew we worked with Jamie. I knew that we worked well together. So from a people that I would want to work with, like that was a no-brainer. Then the school, there's not many college programs I would want to be a part of. And just this place is so incredibly special, the support of women's sports. And it's always been there. Like it's grown. But even in my day, in the early 2000s, there was tons of people at soccer games, tons of people at softball and volleyball. Like there's support of women's sports, I truly believe, is like very unique compared to most places. And so knowing what we could build, knowing the foundation we had, the Corbellis had a lot of success in the past, we could build off of that. And then I did know a lot of the players in the program. And so we had pieces to build with. And so that was encouraging as well, was that there's a lot of things we can do with the foundation that's here. And so I also really wanted to help bring the alumni back together. Like that was a big goal of, you know, there's so many people that care about this program and have for decades, and just wanted to make that effort as well of like, hey, come support what we're trying to build here. And our alumni have been great in that.
I'm glad you mentioned just the support and kind of the foundation, because many of our listeners are those very individuals who want to pour back into the Aggie Volleyball program or a specific, you know, maybe football or baseball or softball or soccer, whatever it may be. What is your perspective, and how would you describe your level of gratitude towards the very passionate 12-Man Foundation donors or Aggie Volleyball season ticket holders who come and support and want to see Aggie Volleyball be the very best that it can be?
Absolutely. I will say that support of women's sports is so special here. And then on top of that, my volleyball specific experience of there are people today that were avid fans when I was playing, and they remember my background about things from me growing up to my time as a player. They could probably spout off more memories about my playing days than I could. Like, they were avid fans then, and there still are now. And it's really special to like walk through the gym and they're, hey, Jen, how are you? How are the boys? And then they'll throw out some random thing from, do you remember when this happened or that happened? So it's genuine. Like, people really care. And that's just on the support of like supporting the young ladies in the program. They care about them beyond just their success on the court. They care about them as people. And that's very genuine and special. So there's that support that is very valuable. And then there's the financial support too, which I think we all know as college athletics has evolved, that is a crucial piece too. In order to do both, to attract the young ladies that we want to, because of all the other things that are not financial related, because it's an incredible school with an incredible network with the most amazing, genuine people that live here or come support here, the alumni network, everything is so special. And then we also have the financial resources to compete with all the other programs that do have incredible financial resources. And you have to have both. You need to have both.
Yep.
And that's what sets us apart from other universities, is that we have both components. It's not just about the financial side and the perks and NIL and all of that. It is completely not all about that.
They have to coexist.
But they both have to coexist. And so that's really neat, is that we have those things and we have people that genuinely care about these young ladies and know that that financial support isn't just for the here and now of what they're doing on the court, but it's also going to help set them up for life and create opportunities for them when they leave here to launch them to be successful as, you know, whatever venture they decide to go into, whether that's in the workforce or if it's as a pro athlete or if that's as the best mom in the world. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, they're going to have the ability to start from a really great spot.
Absolutely. You know, many coaches we've had on here, there's kind of a common theme that comes up, but like, and that is what I've gathered is you have to remember, like, the sport for them will end someday. So they've got to prepare, and what they're learning as student athletes right now, those skills, those life lessons, that's to prepare them for the time after the sport ends one day, to go into society, to be a great contributor to their local community, to be a good mom, to be a good dad. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and speaking to that point that it's so important to develop these student athletes to be great individuals in their society. And have you personally experienced that? And is that rewarding to you as a coach?
Absolutely. I'll use Molly Brown as an example of one of our middles that just finished. She's from the Indiana area, and she was one of the consistently one of the hardest workers in our gym. And we have a lot of hard workers, so that's very much saying something. But she just every day came to compete, came to be her best. And then that was in the practice gym, but also everything she did outside of the gym, academics, her nutrition, weightlifting, whatever it was, like, she pushed herself to be the very best version of herself. And I know that that process can be tiring as a student athlete. There's so many demands on you, but being able to develop those life skills that you're talking about. And I remember her sitting in my office one day and we were chatting, and I was like, look, I will put my money on you any day to go be whatever rock star, whatever you go into, you're going to dominate. Like, you're going to go be phenomenal, because she has those skills that she's developed in a lot of great times, but a lot of tough times, that it takes both to really refine yourself, to have the resiliency that it takes to be successful when you are going to be a mom one day and trying to work or do all the things, guide and mentor other people, whatever it is. And so she's a great example of someone who has gone through that process and that I've been very fortunate to get to be on the journey with, that I can't wait to see the things she does from here.
Last question for you today before we wrap up. You know, the Aggie Volleyball program last season alone had some really historic moments, including taking down Texas in a 5-set thriller in Austin and advancing to the Sweet 16 for the first time in, was it 5 years.
Yes.
Looking ahead now, what makes you excited about this upcoming season and building upon that success?
Absolutely. We've been so excited about how much growth and how much we've been able to accomplish in the amount of time that we've been here. But we're very much not satisfied with where we've gotten so far. We want to keep building on it. And we are thankful. We have a lot of returners this year that have that experience under their belt of what we were able to accomplish last year with some of those big milestones and with how far we were able to go in the tournament and being so close to an Elite Eight. That was right there. And they all felt how close that was. And so they're excited, but also know they have a very real understanding of what that took. It's not just something that's a flash in the pan. Like, it's taken years of grinding, and they know what it looks like. And now they can help guide our young ones of this is what it looks like. And it's going to be a lot of fun, but they realize like the grit and the grind. We were just talking about this in a meeting yesterday of like the grit and grind that it takes in order for fun to come later is what we're really focused on as a group right now. And so this team can do some very special things. So we have a lot of goals set, but the biggest goal is focusing on that kind of daily grind mentality to take it one day at a time and not get ahead of ourselves and to put in that work that it's going to take to yield those results.
Well, I am personally very excited to see y'all
Awesome.
take the court this season, and I know so many Aggie fans are as well. Any final thoughts you'd like to leave, Coach Woods, about the upcoming 2025 Aggie volleyball season?
I would say just to reach out to anyone listening. We want you there. We need your support. So that's from students, that's from families in the community, that's from alumni and 12th Man Foundation members to people coming from out of town that just want to see a good volleyball match. We want everyone there. We need your support to build this into what we know it can be. We hope we're going to work towards putting together a season that allows us to host in the NCAA tournament, and we're going to need everybody then too. So it's going to be a journey of a season, and we just really want everyone to come along the ride with us.
Coach Jen Woods on Answering the Call podcast. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Answering the Call. If you're enjoying the show, please rate and follow us on your podcast streaming platform of choice so you can be the first to know when a new episode drops. As always, a big thank you to our incredible podcast producer, Megan Rohde, to 12th Man Productions and Texas A&M Athletics NIL Department. We also extend our heartfelt gratitude to every donor and season ticket holder for always answering the call through loyal support of Texas A&M Athletics and our student athletes. We'll be back soon with more content. Thanks and gig 'em.